One of our top stories today, crisis in Honduras. The army expels President Manuel Zelaya from the country. It happened just before voting was set to begin in a controversial referendum that would allow him to run for office again, a move the military calls undemocratic. The Honduran Congress has since appointed an acting president. And for more on what sparked the unrest in Honduras and what it means for the region, we're joined by Pablo Policzer. He's Canada's research chair in Latin American politics and a political science professor at the University of Calgary. So, Mr. Policzer, explain to us, this is the first military coup in Latin America and since the Cold War. Just what kind of precedent does this really set?
Well, this is a very significant turning point. We thought that military coups were a thing of the past in Latin America. There were a lot of people who have been worried about the state of democracy in the region and who had been concerned with violations to the democratic order short of military coups. But this shows that military coups are certainly not a thing of the past. It's a very, very worrisome precedent.
That was the president's proposal to extend the presidential terms that really sparked this. Explain to us how this really became such an issue.
Well, a few months ago, the president proposed to hold a referendum today to essentially add another ballot onto the November elections that were going to be held later this year. And the ballot would ask whether the people agreed to create a constitutional assembly to essentially rewrite the country's constitution. Rewriting the constitutions has been going on in other countries in Latin America, largely by left-wing governments. And Manuel Zelaya, the president of Honduras, now ousted president, wanted to do the same thing. And so both the Congress and the courts ruled that holding such a referendum today was illegal. They issued an order not to do this. The army vowed not to collaborate with the referendum today. The president fired the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and this led to today's coup, essentially, and his ousting by the military.
Well, as you mentioned, Zelaya is calling this action by the military illegal, whereas the Supreme Court says the referendum is illegal, and also that it's actually working as a defense of democracy and getting rid of Zelaya. So who's speaking the truth in here? Like, whom do we believe?
Well, that's very hard to sort out. What's worth pointing out is that at the regional level, the Organization of American States abides by the Inter-American Democratic Charter. The charter says that there will be no unconstitutional alteration or interruption to the democratic order in any country of the region. So what we may possibly have here is that by the Constitution of Honduras, there may be a constitutional interruption to the democratic order. I noticed that Article 272 of the Honduran Constitution mandates the armed forces to uphold the Constitution, the constitutional order, including the right of succession of the executive power. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces, General Vasquez, has actually made reference to the Constitution in justifying his actions, that these actions are justified, in his words, in order to uphold the Honduran Constitution. So it's a very troublesome situation when the framework, the principle to uphold democracy in the region is based on what is constitutional or not. And here we may have a constitution that allows potentially a military coup.
Well, Zelaya says he's going to continue on as president until the next elections. I mean, can he do that?
Well, at this point, he's out of the country. It's hard to see how he can do that without coming back into power somehow. He certainly has received a lot of regional and international support from the Organization of American States, which has very directly called this a coup and has come out very, very strongly opposed to this. He's also received support from other presidents in the region, most notably President Chavez of Venezuela, but other left-wing presidents as well, and including the United States, I might add. So how this is going to play out is going to be very interesting to watch.
And interestingly, he says he's going to attend the meeting of the Central American presidents in Nicaragua on Monday with Hugo Chavez right beside him. What is this implication?
Well, the implication is that he wants to continue to operate and certainly to build support for an eventual move back. How that's going to play out domestically is anyone's guess. Venezuela had its own coup. Chavez in Venezuela had his own coup in 2002, where he was also ousted. The coup lasted for only a couple of days, largely because of how those who ousted Chavez mismanaged themselves politically, and so it's entirely plausible that something like this might happen in Honduras, but we just don't know yet.
Okay, an ongoing story. Pablo Policzer, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.